I'm going to move this up.
It's not that it's hard. It's just every time I relearn it, I forget all the steps. So like I can do like the small ones, but the one where you, yeah,
Okay,
that's
good.
that's not the problem.
All right, are we ready, guys? Did you check chapter 8? Did you miss anything in chapter 8 and you don't know why you missed it? Okay, everything made sense. As long, like I said, you are going to miss stuff. You can't learn anything new without missing them occasionally. But if you just know, oh, shoot, that was dative and I thought it was accusative, if you know. And so at the end of class, Luke was asking me, talking about translating, how to, in an orderly fashion, work your way through a sentence. And so I'm actually, we're going to do some sentences into Latin this morning, but I just want to, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start out by putting all the stuff we've learned on the board, okay? Let's do, can you conjugate amo for me in the present tense? Amo, amas, amat, amamasa, matas, amat. Okay, how about future? Amabo, amabis, amabit, amabimus, amabitus, amabunt. How about imperfect? Amabam, amabas, amabat, amabamas, amabatis, amabant. Now, our new one that we learned, I'm going to put the endings on the board. It's I, isti, it, imus, istis. Oh, I like it. That's music to my ears. And we have to use the third principal part. Remember, amo, amari, amawi. That's what we have to use. Amawi, amawisti, amawit, amawimus, amawistus, amawerant. How do we translate the perfect tense? We have three ways we could translate amawit. Tell me one of them. We're looking for 3 ways to translate amawit. How do we translate the perfect tense? Okay, he.
Or sorry, he.
Yes. So he did love. That is perfectly acceptable. No, this is just the perfect tense.
He loves.
That would be present
I
tense.
thought we were doing like the ones where it's like
yeah, the principal parts. Yes, yes. No, I'm just picked one of these. Okay, he loved. There's one other way we could translate this. That's one we haven't learned yet, but you're close. See that? We liked imperfect tense. The one where I used to do it, and I never really finished. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Right, yeah.
The other way we can translate is he has.
Oh,
he has loved, right? Because remember, in let's compare it for a minute to amat. Present tense, he loves. He is loving. And what's the counterpart of this one? He
has.
Well, that's here. Well, instead of he did love in present tense, he does. He does love. Do you see? So these sort of have the did goes with the does, and the has goes with the is. Anyway, so they have counterparts in those. Perfect tense, just to remind you, is something that I did. I did, and it's done, and it's over, and I'm not doing it again. It's completed. Perfect means completed. And imperfect, I just, like it rained. If I said it rained all day, I know I just used ed, but I mean the imperfect tense. I don't mean it rained for 2 seconds and it stopped. If it happened all day, it kept on doing it, and that's imperfect tense. In your book, they will usually use the word was or were, or they will say used to, or kept on
Oh,
to show you that it's the imperfect tense, that it just kept happening and it just never stopped. What's the O?
if we put it in like not the use and keep going, is it still gonna be wrong or?
Oh, you mean if you translated it and you didn't say used to?
Yeah.
No, it's not. That, but was or were. That's a good way to translate imperfect. Good. And let's, I'm going to leave these up here just for reference. Let's do our noun endings, okay? First declension. I, I, arum, is, as, is. Okay, that's first declension. What gender are almost all of these? Got it. Second, us, e, o, o, e, orum, is, os, is. Second declension. What gender are these? Thank you. Okay. And then we have a group that's also second declension, but they're second declension neuter. I will not ask you what gender they are because I just told you. And they go like this. E, o, o, orum, is, is. Remember, whenever it's neuter, nominative and accusative are always the same and the plurals end in A. Even some we haven't learned yet, other declensions, it always does this. Let's write down our cases. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. I'm going to abbreviate because they're long. You will not after today, Caden, because we're going to learn to use the ablative case today. Boom. What is a noun doing in its sentence if it's nominative? What is it doing? It's the subject. What is a noun doing if it's dative? Yeah. What is a noun doing if it's accusative? Oh, you guys are rocking it. You're making me feel very happy today. So here's what I want to do. I want to write down a sentence that I wrote on the board last week. And I'm not going to ask you to translate it. You already did them last week. I'm going to show you how I would attack it. Okay. And maybe this will show you how to organize them a little bit better. So let's.
So what do I do with the translations? Do I just throw them away or show them to you?
If you've checked it, then you can frame it and hang it on your wall if you want, or you can shoot arrows at it. I don't care, but as long as you've checked it. But don't shoot arrows at it if you miss something in it and you don't know why. You don't know why you got the translation wrong. Then you should bring it to me. Okay. Let's look at this this sentence. Vir templum Deis edificat.
Man built God temple.
Okay, so that Caden is doing what we are tempted to do. And I think maybe what, Luke, you are doing. Your first instinct is I'm just going to look and just going to tell what all the words mean. And then, now I'm not saying any of you do this, but I have had students who are very tempted then to take those words and make some sort of sentence out of them that seems to make sense. Whether or not it's the right sentence or not. I'm just going to, it's like, let's throw the words in a bowl and just pick out the words and arrange them in some way that makes sense. That's not what we want to do. You need to know what they mean, obviously. But once we know what they mean, here's how I like to do it. I like, and when you get better at Latin, you don't really have to do it this way anymore. But this is a good starting place. Go for the verb. This is easy because it looks different. It has a different sort of ending, the nouns. And it's almost always at the end of the sentence, unless it's a question. So you find the verb first. So just, you guys tell me, what does edificat? Just ignore the rest of the sentence. Okay, so edifico means build. So what is I? Yes. So he, she, or it builds, right? It would be aunt if it were they. I know he, she, or it. Here, I just got some valuable information. My subject is singular third person. My subject is a he, she, or it. Now, I'm going to look back in my sentence and find something that is singular and a subject. Now, this sentence kind of cheats a little bit, but if you think about it, it can only be a, us, or It has to be a subject and it has to be singular. Now, like I said, I botched it in one of those. Can you find a word that is nominative and singular? What is the word that is nominative and singular? We are. We're talking about we're. Although, templum is too.
Would that actually be a completely different case?
It is, but I don't know that yet.
Wouldn't that be the direct object because it's received?
Yes, but I am pretending I am not nearly as smart as you guys. I'm pretending I'm really dense, and I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out really fast because here's my two choices. The man builds or the temple builds. Obviously, the man builds. Also, they have given us the heads up that usually the subject comes before the direct object. It doesn't have to, but usually in Latin it does. So I'm going with man. The man builds. Well, in my little, because I'm being very slow. All right, I'm a doofus here doing my Latin. I'm not saying that any of you are a doofus doing your Latin, but I'm going to pretend. I already figured out that this can be a direct object. So I went, man builds a temple. All right, I've narrowed it down to one word, and I know it's got to be dative or ablative. And guess what? I haven't learned ablative yet. It's got to be dative for the gods. I can see this plural. Does that make sense? If you go to this verb, it tells you, what if this were my sentence? Now, what is my verb? Oh yeah, go ahead.
So you're able to add like the, it is, and everything.
That is a very good question. Yes, there is no the or in Latin. We call those articles. Latin does not have any articles. So put in the, because if we say man builds temple for gods, it sounds a little bit like cavemen, or I don't know. It just sounds not normal, like we wouldn't normally. So you can put the or whenever you want. Absolutely. Yeah. The man is building a temple for the gods. That's fine. What have I done here? Edificatis. You all are building. Now, look what just happened. I started with the verb, and now I have some valuable information. There is no other subject. The subject is you. There is no point in me looking. The temple can't be the subject because you is the subject. You are building a temple. So, it saves you a lot of time when you look at the verb first, because if the subject is we or you, there isn't going to be another subject. It's there in the verb. So does that help? Does that make sense? That's how I would attack them. Start with the verb, and then now you know what you're looking for. Is my subject singular? Is it plural? Here's what I want to do. I made up some sentences. In your lesson this week, they're going to ask you to put some sentences into Latin. Have they done this already? Oh, I missed it. Oh, well, we're going to practice. We're going to do 3 of them anyway, which is why we got all our endings up there. So this is sort of a vocabulary review for us, and it's also using our cases. I did not make them very hard. They're not very hard sentences. But before we do that, let's just, I don't even know if we'll do all of these. I made up a bunch of verbs. Make them up. They already existed. But let's just go around and just translate verbs. Just kind of rapid fire. We'll start with Caden. Caden, translate clamat for me. Yeah, or shout. Probably shout in this case. Kano is sing and clamo. They're very close. They both start with C. they sound like. So yes, he shouts. Good. John, desiderabamus.
So we were wishing.
We were wishing. Luke, habebo. I will have. Good. Caden, monent. Throw in some of our new second conjugation.
They multiply.
Monio. The they is totally right. And it is present tense.
Is it warm?
They warn. Monio. So keep working on words every week. John, how about nekawheat? Nekawheat.
So that is going to be a perfect ending.
It is. It's perfect tense.
Shear it.
He shear it.
Did kill.
Yes, he shear it did kill, or killed, or has killed. Those are all fine. No, they're not fine at all. Don't kill anyone. Those are proper translations, however. Caden, parawimus.
No, this is actually perfect.
It is because it's got that third principal part. Good. And who's doing it? Yes. So we know it's perfect and we know it's we. Do you remember what paro means? Tell him.
Prepare.
Okay, so just tell him that. So paro means prepare. So it's we, and the word is prepare, and it's perfect. Boom. We did prepare. We prepared. Or we have prepared. All those are fine. Okay. John, you get vulnerable.
I was moving.
You get the violent ones today, don't you? I was wounding, yes. Killing, wounding. Okay. And Luke, videbatis. Yes. Beautiful. Excellently done. Even, and Caden, your only hiccup was you couldn't remember what some of the words meant. But once you know what they mean, you can translate them. And this is what I want to see. Because you can keep drilling vocabulary and memorize them. But if you just don't understand how the tenses work, that's completely different. You guys got it. Okay. Let's put a couple of sentences into Latin. God created horses. Totally they were. I was desperate. You know, it's really hard to make up sentences with only words you guys know. Okay. Okay. So we know God is the subject, and we know it, so it has to have the subject ending. Good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the equus. What is horses doing in this sentence? Yeah. It's yes. So it's got to have an accusative ending. We know equus is one of these. It's second declension. It's accusative. Is it singular or plural?
No, it's bread.
Yes. Yes. Horses. So equos. Right. Here's a stem.
Is created
Creo.
Actually, isn't it create? Because
yes.
Okay. If I say creat, it is God creates horses. That's present tense.
oh, because it's perfect.
It's perfect because we're thinking God said, be a horse, and there was a horse. You're so close. So kriav is our stem. Kriavit. Yes.
Or Creole.
Okay. You've got a Face. Oh, okay. So Creo, Creari, Creawi is our third principal. You're all good though? Okay. Always stop me. If we can stop in the middle of anything, if you have a question. If I ever say something and you don't know where I got that from, please stop. Okay. The girls will look at the big town. Okay. Okay. Girls is our subject. We know it's Puella and we know they're plural. So it has to be Puellae. Okay. Oppidum, right? Okay. So we're doing everything at once, but let's attack one thing at a time. You said, okay, so the next thing that would normally come in my Latin sentence. By the way, if you write them in Latin like we do in English with the subject and then the verb and the direct object, I will not beat you for this, all right? If your words are in a different order when you look at the answer key, this is okay. The endings have to be the same. That's the important thing. But if you put them in a different order, it's acceptable. This is just how they normally do it, okay? So town. What is town doing in this sentence? It is. That's what they're looking at. And we know oppidum, you already said oppidum, so we know it's second declension neuter, and we know it's singular, and we know it's accusative. What ending does it need? Oppidum. And what kind of town is this town? Yes. Yeah, a magnus aum is big. Magnum. There you go, because it's got a match. And the girls will look at. So we have to think, how do we say look at? And then what ending should it have? Vidibat. Okay, yes. I will take that. You've learned another one that we could use. We have learned another, you have options. Technically, that would be like the girls were seeing the big town. But and it would be the same specta, because remember, video is second.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, doesn't specto just mean spectate, but video actually means look?
Well, no, specto means look at. Yeah, and video just means see. So specto has the idea of kind of actively, that's what spectators do. They're not just seeing it. Like, I came here and I paid money to see whatever it is I came in here to see. I am a spectator at this football game or, movie or whatever. So I'm actively watching. But Caden, I think I would not be upset. Like if this were a quiz and you used video, I'm fine with that. Yes. Oh, it's not the wrong. Oh, it is the wrong tense. I was going to and it's wrong person too. Girls are a they. Thank you. I just wasn't even paying attention to this. But that's was. That's was. Bomb, spot, bomb, spot, spot. That's was. They will. Thank you. You saved us. Bo bisbit, bimis bunt. Vid a bunt. Or specta bunt. Remember, I have to know that video is second, so its stem is vide. Specta is first. Thank you so much. I didn't even look back at the sentence I wrote. I was like, yeah, okay, they're probably right. I should never trust you guys. It was peer pressure. We all just peer pressured ourselves into being in the imperfect tense. Okay, let's do one more of these, and then we'll look at our new thing. Yeah, then we're good. Okay, this is my long one. The beautiful woman. They already don't like the way it started. I'm sorry. Was giving many gifts to the good queen. All right, I threw in everything I could.
Okay, I know
Okay. Let's instead of spreading our interest and our knowledge out, let's focus it in. What is the subject of this sentence? Who's doing something? Woman. What's the word for woman? Femina. And since it's being the subject, is it one woman or more than one woman?
The woman.
The woman. So one. So it has singular femina. And what kind of woman is she? What's the word for beautiful? Yeah, pulcher, pulcra, pulcrum. It's the word that sounds like an insult.
Yeah.
I told you this last year. Did I say this already this year? It sounds rude. Your pulchritude is, I'm going to smack you. Don't talk about my pulchritude, but it means beauty. Okay, so pulcher, pulcra, pulcrum. Those are our choices. Which one should I choose? Pulcra, because it's feminine. Pulcra, okay. What is this woman?
Donut.
Ah, yes, because donum. Well, no, you're right. You're right. I'm being the slow person, okay, and I'm going back through all the steps. So I know the word donum is second declension neuter, and it's accusative, and it's plural. Dona, and what kind of gifts or what's? Mm-hmm. What ending do I want on it? It's got to match gifts. Multi. Many gifts. Who's getting the gifts?
The good queen. So that's bona regnant.
Those are the right words. What endings do I want on it? What is it?
It's wait, no, as. Bonus.
Well, is the queen getting given? I thought the gifts were getting given. I thought the gifts were the direct object. What is the?
Oh.
Well, look at this. Who's getting the gifts? What do we call the person who's getting the direct object?
A. I like A-E.
Yes. How? Why? Tell me. Because what case is it? No, I isn't accusative. It's dative. It's the indirect object. She's getting the gifts. She's getting the gifts. That makes her an indirect object. So Reginae, and what? She's good. You told me the word for good. And what ending do I want on it? Boni. Boom. All right. Was giving. What's the word for give? Do. We're going to get the tense right this time. So it's do, dari, dedi, datum. So I mean it's first conjugation. So its stem is da, because it's first conjugation. But I just have to figure out what ending.
I think. Yeah, I think it's donut because it has.
Well, that's no. This is the verb. We did gifts already. We're working on the do, the do, dari, dedi.
Would it be he, she, or it?
It's a he, she, or it ending. Yeah, but it's. Yeah, but that would be more like gave. And this has got was giving. So I mean like bought. Bomb, boss, bought. Do, or just da bought. You has do. The word is do, dari. And so it's that weird one that's got just this little baby stem. All right. Did everything, all the steps we went through make complete sense to you guys? Yes. In the rain. Are we good? Okay. Let's, they're going to use some of the vocabulary in the examples. So I want to go over the new words now first. Often we do that at the end. Also, I botched last week. You guys noticed it, I'm sure. I didn't even do the adjectives last week. I didn't talk about anything that wasn't the verbs because I was so engrossed in second conjugation that I just ignored all the rest of the vocabulary list. So last week you learned lightus, happy, validus, strong, vivus, living, and vulneratus, wounded. And you also learned D&D, which means then, and mox, which means soon. They probably popped up in your lesson and you thought, what the heck? She didn't even mention these. So this is on page 52, anyway, last week. So I apologize profusely that I just completely ignored some of your vocabulary words and didn't even tell you that you had adjectives. But I'm sure you guys are smart enough that when they popped up, you went back and you read it for yourself. But so let's look at this week's.
Isn't Tom then?
Yeah, but tum means then. There are more than one then. So you're like, there's more than one then. We use then in different ways too. Sometimes we say, I went to the store, then I came home. And I'm just indicating the sequence of events. This happened first and then something happened next. But back then in ancient Egypt, when they were carving hieroglyphics on the walls, see, then I mean at a particular time. So it's just sort of a different angle on the idea of then. But good remembering, Caden, that we do already have a then. English has like more than one word for one thing too, sometimes, It's raining, it's sprinkling, it's pouring, and they mean slightly different things, but it all means water is falling from the sky in some form. Okay, let's look at the new words. Arma armorum. Weapon, armor, or not arm. Well, armor comes from that, but weapons, arms, not these kind of arms. All right, arms, swords. Notice something about it.
Wait, they call swords arms?
Yes, like any kind of weapons means arms.
Wouldn't that just be like arms though?
Yes, but it doesn't mean the same as your physical arms that are attached to your body. There's another word for your actual arms. But we do this in English. Sometimes we call, and he armed himself. It doesn't mean he put on his arms. He snapped them on. It means he got his weapons. Unless you're missing your arms. And some people are, and then they have to arm themselves, literally. But none of you have to do that. Anyway, what I wanted to mention is to look at arma. It says it's neuter plural. It's always plural. Weapons, because who wants to only have one weapon? Nobody. Let's have as many weapons as we possibly can. Now, I don't know why it's always plural. So it's one of these. It's second declension neuter, but it's always plural. So arma, armorum are the nominative genitive. Next one, carus. Well, it means cart. That's easy. Wagon, chariot, carus, second declension. And we see that it's masculine, as we would expect. Copii, copiarum. Feminine, plural. It's always plural too. It means troops. Actually, sometimes it is singular, but it means something else when it's singular. So don't worry about that. If it's plural, it means troops. I feel like there's a pattern. Weapons, chariots, troops. I feel like they're preparing us to have some sort of battle in Latin. But frumentum. Frumentum, it says it's neuter, so it's second declension neuter, and it means grain. It does sound, fructus. Fructus means fruit. But frumentum, yes. It reminds me of the word fermenting, and I always think of like fermenting grain alcohol to make beer, like fermenting grain.
Is it preventing like cooking or like doing something with the food?
Yes, it's putting bacteria in it to make it turn into alcohol. Your cider will do that apparently if you leave it long enough. Okay, anyway. Gaudium. Neuter, gaudium, gaudii, means joy. It might be related. I have asked students about this, and I don't think that anybody ever knows this word. Are you with me, guys? Gaudy. Do you know, sometimes we say her clothes were so gaudy. Do you know what that means if we say someone's dressed up and they're gaudy? It means it's not a compliment. and it means they're just over the top, obnoxious, prettily so, but obnoxiously so. So that's very gaudy. But it actually comes from joy because when there was a feast day or a festival, you wear your prettiest, best clothes. You wear your gaudy clothes because you're rejoicing. But now it means something that's too fancy, that's kind of over the top, frilly. If it had sequins all over it and, feathers sticking out, it's like, no, that is gaudy. And it comes from gaudium, joy. Gratiae. It's first. It means thanks, gratitude. It can mean grace. Gratia. But if in Latin, if you give thanks, you give gratia. Regia, regii, palace. It does. It does. A regina lives in a regia. The queen was the palace. See, it's true. It's true. The last noun, not the last word, studium, means zeal or eagerness. Okay, study. Hopefully when you study, you are eager. Okay, verbs. Now this first one, and I need to get, it's 10 after and we haven't done our actual lesson yet, but let me whiz through these. Cario, carere, cariui, cariturum. That's different because the normal second is like monio monere, monui monitum. But this is cario carere, cariui cariturum. It means be without, lack, be free from. Something you don't have. That's what it means. And it says plus ablative of separation. We're going to go back to that. That's the lesson. Let's look at the other ones first. Libero, liberari, liberavi, liberatum. Yes, and it means set free. Free. That's what it means. That's very easy to remember. Ludifico, ludificari, ludificavi, ludificatum. To fool, to trick someone, to fool someone. This could be very useful, I feel like. Oh, did you? Prohibio, prohibere, prohibui, prohibitum. It sounds like prohibit. And it means prohibit or prevent. And notice it's a regular second conjugation verb. Okay, we have two adjectives. Mortuus, means dead. Like you take the dead people to the mortuary. That's where they embalm them and lay them out in the coffin, mortuary. Optimus, like Optimus Prime. Are you guys too young for Transformers? Okay. Optimus means best. Optimus. And two more adverbs. Nunc means now. You know this. Nunc out nunquam. And ubi means when. Okay. Turn the page. And we are going to learn some uses of the ablative case. These are your ablative endings. I want to remind you that the little line over this A is important. The little line means it's ablative and it's not this A. Okay, so use the line, and if you see an A with a little line, this is important. It's telling you that it's ablative. Ablative does all sorts of things in Latin. Usually, it's the equivalent of some sort of prepositional phrase in English. And maybe you were made to memorize the prepositions. A good key to determining if something is a preposition is to picture a mouse and some cheese. And anything, describe where the mouse is in relation to the cheese. He is on the cheese, in the cheese, under the cheese, by the cheese, through the cheese, around the cheese, over the cheese. Did I say that? With the cheese. Yeah, usually prepositional phrases describe where or when something's happen. In the cheese would be one. So if I came in time, you could nibble this way in and be sitting in a little cave inside the cheese. It's big cheese.
So I'll just say there's basically like
some sort of prepositional phrase. What? don't put it in a place to melt.
Well, you already know.
He'll just swim through it if it gets liquidy. He's
If-
tough. He's a mouse.
If the lid's on the pot and then it's boiling.
Oh, no. Don't cook the mouse in the cheese. Okay. All right. So they are going to give you 3 things that ablative is often used for. Okay. Read with me on page 60 or 59, as the case may be. The first ablative use is ablative of means or instrument. I'm just going to read this to you. This construction indicates the thing by or which something is accomplished. The Romans never used this construction for a person or an animal. It's always a thing. Oh, yeah, I'm at the top of page 60. Sorry. Okay. Using the phrase by means of is a good way to recognize this construction. So, armis pugnat, they are fighting with weapons. It's ablative and it's plural. Now, I know it's the same ending as the dative, but there is no way I can say they are fighting to or for the weapons. There's nothing giving. There's no indirect object in this sentence. They are fighting by means of weapons. That's what they're using to fight. Caro frumentum portavit. He carried the grain by means of a cart or with a cart.
Why is the means of a in parentheses?
Because you don't have to always write by means of every time you translate one. But they're saying that if by means of makes sense, then we call that ablative of means or ablative of instrument. It's a type of ablative use. But if you just said he carried the grain by cart, he used a cart, that's what you don't have to say means of every time. But they put it in there just so you can see that's the idea behind it. That's the means I use to do something. It's always a thing. In this case, it's never a person. They use a different something else for that. So that's.
Like that, should you still put parentheses or not?
Oh no, you don't have to. You don't have to. No, the parentheses are not important in any way, Caden. So that is ablative number 1, ablative of means. Ablative number 2, manner. This construction expresses the manner or the attitude with which something was accomplished. When an adjective is included in this construction, a Latin preposition is not needed. Okay. Or magna gratia oramus. We pray with great gratitude or great thanks. I know it's singular though, but you could still say thanks. How did I do it? With thanks, with gratitude. Look at the next one. Multo gaudio clamat. He shouts with much joy. How did you do it? What was the manner in which you did it?
Where did much come from?
Multo. Multus means many or
You
much.
can change it to much.
Yes, if it's singular, because like I don't say I ate mini pizza, unless I ate many pizzas, in which case I'm probably not going to feel well later. But I would say I ate much pizza if it's singular. So yeah, much, and many, either way. So that's the second use. The third is ablative of separation. This is the new verb that we learned, cario. It said plus ablative of separation. Let's take a look at this one. This construction expresses that some person or thing is separated from another. The ablative of separation is commonly used with certain verbs meaning to free, to lack, to deprive. If you set someone free, you free them from something, right? Like, come away, don't be enslaved anymore. Or if you are without something, then that thing is far away from you. Yes.
Also, could you replace much with a lot of? Because if you ate much pizza, that does not make sense.
You can certainly in English. I wouldn't in Latin when you're translating, but sure. That would probably be what I'd say anyway. So let's look at a couple of these separations. Opido, copias, prohibuit. Prohibio means prevent, but it also means to hinder, to keep someone away. If entrance is prohibited, they're keeping you away, right? So he kept away the troops, kopios, from the town. That's what they're being kept away from. It's ablative. Or agri frumentis carent. The fields, agri, are lacking grain. Now, look at that sentence in English. The fields are lacking grain. I will tell you what I see. I see subject, fields, verb, are lacking, direct object, grain, but not in Latin. Flip back to your vocabulary list and look under verbs, and it says cario plus ablative of separation. When I use cario, the thing I'm deprived of, the thing I lack, is always ablative. I know this is very annoying because in English, it looks very much like a direct object. Look at, okay, turn to exercise 4. It's on page 61 for me. And look at sentence 1. The farmer was without a wagon. Think about what was without means. He lacked it. He didn't have it, right? Because you might look at that and say, I don't know the word for without. But you know a verb that means to be without something. Cario, it says to be without, to be deprived, lack. So I look at that. The farmer was without a wagon. What case do I have to put wagon in? Ablative. Because cario always takes the ablative. Does that make sense? This is the big, this is the only thing we're learning. I mean, words and this. They're not just throwing tons of stuff at you this week. I feel like last week was just crazy. Perfect tense and second conjugation, and that's it. Do the exercises. You have another reading, Servius Tullius. He's the kid whose head caught on fire. They became king. You have a short translation. Is it a short translation? Oh, that's not very short at all, is it? More about the kings of Rome. Note the Responde Latine at the bottom of page 62. They want you to answer in Latin. The more you use it, the easier it will get. That's why they want you to do this. And remember, you don't have to invent some wonderful sentence. If it says, who is the 6th king of Rome? Servius Tullius is the 6th king of Rome. You just basically copy most of the sentence that's already written there for you when you just stick in the answer and write the rest of the sentence. But do read through the chapter again, because if you read through, I told you everything, but if you read through it again, that will help. And then do the exercises, but pace yourself. Do plenty of the exercises so you have plenty of time for the translation. Yes?
So are the periods always in the right place, or are they in the wrong place? We have to figure it out.
Oh, in the translation?
Yeah.
As far as I know, they're in the right place.
Because like sometimes it doesn't make sense.
Oh. Well, do you know what, Caden? If that happens, bring your translation. Why don't you just bring your translation next time to me?
Well, I have my translation in my last two.
Okay, give it to me. Just give it to me. Because do you have any other questions? Are there any other questions? Okay, let me just take a moment and look, and then I'll find out what I've thought about. I wish we had a little more time, and then we would go over the translation sentence by sentence in class. I need to have you guys twice a week is what I need.
What?
But I don't get you twice a week, do I?
I don't mind.
Yeah. So is this the? Oh, okay. Let me just do the because we need to stop. Okay. Oh, this isn't the one I'm looking at. Chapter 7. Oh, chapter 7. Okay, this is not chapter 8. Okay. Did you really? Well, pace yourself. Do more exercises and then spend at least 2 days on the translation. Don't try to do these all in one day if they take you that long. Here's what I think. I think if you have spent an hour on Latin, you're done. Now, You don't always have to spend a whole hour. But if you're spending less than half an hour, you're not doing enough. It ought to take you at least that long to do some exercises and review everything every day. But, if you were doing your math or your science, you might spend an hour, right? But if you've done it for an hour, give yourself a break, for crying out loud. Just go away. Do something else for a while. You've done enough. Even if you don't get it all done. But if you pace yourself, hopefully you'll get it done. Okay, let me do this. Okay. This is not, I'm looking at the wrong character. Okay. The second king of Rome. Oh, yes. Numa is, I see. Oh, so you know what? No, you know what? You translated Numa Pompilius as the second king of Rome over every time, but it's his name. He's the second king of Rome. It doesn't actually mean the second king of Rome. It means he is the second. If it's capitalized, it's a proper noun, and you can just use that word. That will save you some trouble because you wrote that out over and over. Bless your heart. You did not have to do that. Okay, is a good man and pious in the town. The curious. Okay, okay. After the death of Romulus, this Numa. Oh, okay. So here, we're not going to have time to go over all of it, but let's just look at this one sentence together. So we have after the death of Romulus, and then you made Numa, the second king. You made it the subject, but do you see how it's got a direct object ending? Yeah. And the subject has to be plural, optant. The Romans wish to create Numa king. You see? Because he is, did we get that? A good man. Yeah. And now let's look at what you wrote. After the death of Romulus, the second king, Numa, desired to create a town that is the best man. So, see, the word town isn't here. And so I'm not sure where we went with that. Let's look at the next sentence. So Numa, okay, the second king, yeah. Like Romulus, wishes to obey the gods. That's perfect. That's perfect. Sitting on a rock. Okay, he prays to the god. Long spirit. Okay, they gave you that one. Jupiter gives signs. Perfect. And so, and again, we did it. It says, and so the second king of Rome. But it's got an accusative ending. Now, I think the problem is you didn't notice because you didn't know. It's got two words, but Numa is one of these. So Numam makes him the direct object. I think you know this. I think this is a bad example for us to go over together because that proper noun threw you. I don't think you just weren't sure what to do with that. So you asked me what to do with your translation. Bring it next week. Bring the one you do. Bring it. Oh, what? No, 9. We're doing chapter 9 this week. We did chapter 8 last week. So do chapter 9, and you two gentlemen, bring your translation in with you next week. And let's just take some time. I might even decide to take a week. Oh, that's my book. To just go over your translations. I mean, I want to get through the book, but I also don't know that there's any point in rushing if you're having issues. We have one more chapter. Two more chapters. I'm trying to see where our next reading is. All right, let me go to the. Okay. Oh, chapter 9. Chapter 9, reading. We have a reading next week. Remember, there was no new material, just a reading. So next week, we are going to go sentence by sentence over your translation together for a review. Okay, I need to shut this off.
So next week, homework is translation, correct?
Well, it is all of chapter 9. Do chapter 9. Do the exercises.